After last week's floods, tornadoes are ripping through China. China is once again targeting Filipino ships in the South China Sea, and Xi Jinping prepares to host unity talks for the Palestinians. All this and more on this week's China News Headlines. Welcome to China Uncensored. I'm Chris Chappell. This episode is sponsored by Surfshark. Whenever you go online, you should be using a VPN like Surfshark to cover your tracks and protect your identity. I'll tell you more at the end. Well, we've got some real Armageddon-type vibes going on in China. Last week it was biblical floods. This week it's tornadoes. A tornado struck Guangzhou last Saturday, killing 5 people and injuring 33 others. I have a question. Can it still be considered an act of God if it happens in an officially atheist country? Because you better not call it an act of Mao. While tornadoes do occur in China, they're nowhere near as common as in the US. Officials say the tornado's intensity level was 3 on a scale of 5, and that it damaged 141 factory buildings. Oh no, that might affect China's ability to flood global markets with cheap crap. What a terrible, horrible, no good thing to happen. All this is occurring at a time when China is in a steep economic crisis and already had to evacuate over 100,000 people in this economically powerful region due to the recent floods. You'd think the CCP, with all of its exporting of green energy goods globally, would take the whole climate change thing seriously. Instead, it seems like they're just hoping it'll all blow over. And speaking of things being flooded, the CCP is blasting Filipino ships with water cannons in the South China Sea. Again, is there a groundhog fish? Because I feel like I'm living in Groundhog Fish Day. The incident occurred near the Scarborough Shoal on Monday morning when 2 maritime patrol boats from the Philippines encountered 4 Chinese Coast Guard vessels and 6 Chinese maritime militia ships. Fortunately, there was only minor damage to the canopy and railing of one of the Philippine ships. This incident comes not long after the U.S. held a joint naval exercise with the Philippines. President Biden gave assurance to maintain Filipino security. Commodore J. Terry Ellis, spokesperson for the Philippine Coast Guard, said that this damage serves as evidence of the forceful water pressure used by the China Coast Guard in their harassment of the Philippine vessel. All right, I know it's dangerous, but as someone with a low-flow showerhead, that water pressure makes me feel more jealous than scared. Terry also said that China has returned a floating barrier to the Scarborough Shoal, meant to refuse access to foreign ships and cement its claim. The Philippines removed another barrier like that last year because this is how China operates. In other news, Chinese women are coming up with an interesting way to save money. A trend called dazi has emerged and become popular on Weibo and Xiaohongshu, China's version of Instagram. Basically, these women, mostly between the age of 20 and 40, form online groups centered on saving money. They log their budget and expenses and discourage each other from buying pricey impulse goods. One woman discusses how a member of her group almost bought a luxury bag worth $690, but after talking to other women in the group, settled for a much cheaper secondhand bag. These groups are building camaraderie among young Chinese citizens who have been devastated and demoralized by the CCP's failing economic policies, like when China stopped reporting youth unemployment after it reached record highs. Is this a case of misery-loving company or company lifting people out of misery? And after the break, China prepares to host Palestinian unity talks. Welcome back. The White House says it welcomes Chinese efforts to bring stability to the Middle East, although I'm not sure that's possible given the way the CCP keeps parroting Iran's propaganda while helping the Islamic Republic skirt sanctions. But Beijing is playing host to the rival Palestinian governing factions, Fatah and Hamas, which is internationally recognized as a terror organization. There have been numerous talks between the two sides over the years to broker a reconciliation, but none have succeeded. China has long wanted to displace American influence in the region without getting entangled in the Middle East's wars. Because getting entangled in endless wars in the Middle East would suck. Thankfully, as an American, I have no idea what that's like. Of course, the biggest problem with these talks is that there's strong evidence that the CCP was behind Hamas's October 7th attack on Israel, and even Iran's attack. For more on that, check out this week's China Unscripted podcast. I'll put a link to that below. But Xi Jinping just got some bad news. Manasseh Sogavare, the China-friendly Prime Minister of the Solomon Islands, decided to step down after a poor electoral showing. Wow, it's almost like being friendly with China isn't good for you. There really should be a warning label on that or something. Sogavare has been covered on this channel more than a few times and was indeed a big fan of Xi Jinping and Chinese money in his country. While announcing his departure, he blamed his political shortcomings on pressure from the United States and Western allies, while saying he was accused of many things, like being friendly towards the CCP. He also pledged to oppose any actions that contain or aim to contain China's development. So I guess at least that accusation was accurate. Sogavare snubbed a White House summit where President Biden hosted Pacific Island leaders, accusing the U.S. of lecturing leaders in the region. He wasn't lecturing them. It just takes people his age a long time to spit out what they're trying to say. Sogavare instead chose to be feted in Beijing last year by Xi and Premier Li Qiang, who agreed to people-to-people exchanges, police training, and a significant security agreement involving Chinese ships stopping at a port not too far from the east coast of Australia. Hopefully the ports were able to stay dry. Even with Sogavare stepping down, his replacement might still be friendly to China. Jeremiah Manili, who looks poised to take Sogavare's place, was Sogavare's foreign minister when these agreements with China were signed. Seriously, we really need a warning label for this. And after the break, we'll discuss Antony Blinken's disastrous visit to China. Welcome back. Secretary of State Antony Blinken was in China last week, discussing Beijing's support for Russia, regional aggression towards its Asian neighbors, the fentanyl crisis, and Chinese interference in U.S. elections, among other issues that have been discussed numerous times between the two nations in recent months. Blinken's entire talk with Beijing should have just been stop. All of it, just stop. The mainstream media was all over the event, with Newsweek asking if China humiliated Blinken. Why? Well, before Blinken's flight landed, the CCP released a video of one of their submarines test-firing a nuclear-capable ballistic missile. And not long after he left, Chinese jets flew test runs near Taiwan for the umpteenth time in recent weeks. And this is the warming ties that Blinken welcomed as he left for his trip. China is entering these talks in such cartoonishly bad faith, I wouldn't be surprised if they kept their fingers crossed behind their backs the entire time. But Elon Musk's recent surprise visit to Beijing seems to have gone more smoothly, with local governments even removing restrictions on Tesla cars in China after they passed Chinese data security requirements. Musk arrived amidst Beijing's first major auto show in years and met with Premier Li Qiang, whom he said he was very honored to meet. Tesla's news release didn't specify exactly who removed restrictions on the cars, which were in place due to concerns about what data can be collected by a US-based automaker. I'm guessing that those mysterious local authorities were driven crazy by Musk's constant flattery of an outreach to the CCP. Just hopefully not by Tesla's autopilot. And Xi Jinping is planning a trip to Europe. I assume this Euro trip will be way less hilarious and age even more poorly. China's support for Russia's war on Ukraine and the war in the Middle East are likely to come up in conversation. But Xi is more interested in promoting his deepening trade relations and BRI projects with Central European countries, such as Hungary and Serbia. This is crucial because the EU is growing impatient with China's unfair trade practices, a message passed along by German Chancellor Olaf Scholz on his own trip to China a few weeks ago. Though to be fair, during the talks, he should have checked to see if they were crossing their fingers behind their backs. And is China preparing for war? Beijing is revising its national defense education law, which could mean people as young as middle schoolers could be eligible to receive expanded military education and training. Because nothing makes more sense than putting moody preteens into high-stress military-style situations. Party and central officials will have almost full control over this move, and the revisions call on local military bases to strengthen the direction, oversight, and organization of military training for students. But who knows, maybe instead of being indoctrinated, these youth will choose instead to lie flat or join a Dazi group. Save money and your life. Now I've got a video you'll definitely want to see, but first, this episode is sponsored by Surfshark. When you go online, everything you do is potentially compromised, unless you're taking active steps to protect yourself. No matter where you live, no matter what you do online, you should always be keeping your internet activity private with a VPN like Surfshark, especially when you're doing things like logging into your bank account or credit card online. If you ever use shared Wi-Fi, you're in danger. Even low-rent hackers can steal your password without you even knowing it. And when you travel, especially overseas, you might need a VPN that makes it look like you're in your home country just to log into your accounts. So it saves a huge potential hassle. And you can install it on as many devices as you want, even on your Amazon Fire TV stick. If you want to make it appear like you're logged in from a different country so you can access all the good Netflix shows that are geo-blocked. So seriously, check out Surfshark. So go to surfshark.com/uncensored to get up to 3 additional months for free. That's surfshark.com/uncensored and use the code uncensored. The link is in the description. And here's that video I want to show you. It's from my new gaming channel where I hide controversial takes on news and politics in gaming. And there's been some pretty big controversy about this one. Click here and let me know what you think. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. Thanks for watching China Uncensored.